One month, I delivered 43 cars. I didn't even work for them. I delivered 43 cars. How do you stand out? Why would somebody move towards ownership with you? If you can't answer that question, you need to self-critique because we don't like critique, do we? You can earn whatever you want to earn in sales. You've just got to go and learn. And the more you learn, the more you're going to learn.
Can you really use psychology to sell more cars? Meet Tony from the UK, who has developed his own way of selling more cars using psychology, and he demonstrates to me via roleplay how you can use these special word tracks to help you close more deals. Thanks so much for being on the show, Tony.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
So,
Ready to go.
when you reached out, I was blown away that you said you live and work in the UK. And I was like, oh, I got people following me in the UK. That's crazy. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where do you work and where exactly in the UK do you even live?
So I work in a car dealership called Oakwood Motor Company. Worked there for coming on to 3 years now, and I live in Greater Manchester. So if to best describe it, it's like smack bang in the heart of the UK. It's like right in the middle of the UK.
Okay. Okay. For anyone listening, wondering, I like to give the background why I'm interviewing somebody. What was interesting? What stuck out about Tony? If you're unaware, I put some things on my Instagram, my TikTok. Hey, reach out to me if you want to be on my podcast. And Tony was oozing with confidence in his video he sent to me, saying he is the world's best car salesman and he uses psychology and science to sell cars. So that's the background with Tony. Caught my attention like that. I said to my wife, who helps me schedule these things, let's get this guy on. He seems awesome to talk to. And that's why Tony's sitting here. We're going to find out exactly how he uses psychology in sales to sell more cars. But before we get into that, I love to ask every car salesman, how did you find your way into the industry? Most people don't just say at 5 years old, I want to be a car salesman. And everyone usually has a cool story of how they got into it.
Yeah, I I I started off so like early on. I think I left school. I was like you. I was sort of like a very sort of high influence relationship, people focused person. Sort of like laughing, fun. Probably got into trouble at school bit too often. Didn't really do well in the grades because I wasn't really interested in them. And left school, didn't know what I wanted to do. Went Worked at a yogurt lid factory, flicking through yogurt lids for 8 months, and then I ended up going to college, believe it or not, on a day release to get a job with a freight company, just like doing administration. Just didn't have a clue what I wanted to do, and I ended up through the day release getting moved to another job because it didn't go well, and it just happened to be a finance broker. So that was the start of my journey. I started working as a financial underwriter. So like you guys send credit apps to I think it's I'm not too sure what it is in America, what you call it, but you send the credit apps and then you get an approval. So I was the guy, and this is at 17 years old. I was the guy who was reading the customers' credit files
Yeah.
and deciding whether they should have the correct score for the finance and the credit, and then telling the dealer, look, it's accepted. So I was sort of like hovering around the motor trade,
Yeah.
servicing it with the finance and the credit, and then um, did really really well at that. And the finance company, they messed up massively in my view. They offered me an opportunity to go and work in house inside a dealer because it was very lucrative for a finance company or broker to be actually situated in a dealer because they had instant access to every single proposal and every single customer that was coming in. This is going back to the year 2000, so things were a bit different then. And I I actually started selling cars, or the dealership. You know, it's like in the dealership, it's like we've got to do whatever it takes. There's
Yeah.
a go the extra mile, do something you're not supposed to do. And I'm obviously a people person. I'm a relationship focused person, influencer, high energy. I was like, I'll sell the car for you. I'll sell the car for you. I'll hand it over for you. And I fell into being a financial underwriter, but actually doing the salesman's job because, let's face it, some sort of salespeople can go way below the line and they can
Yeah.
be a bit lazy. They might have had too much for lunch and they're in a bit of a coma after 2 o'clock. And I'd just be there, just handing cars over. I'd be selling at the time the payment protection insurance. I'd be selling the gap insurance. I'd be selling anything that was there to be sold. But I wasn't getting paid a penny for it. I wasn't getting paid a penny.
They were just like, "Good job, Tony. Thank you."
Yeah, literally. And like 1 month, I delivered 43 cars, and I didn't
Wow.
even work for them. I didn't even work for them. I delivered 43 cars. Every single car had PPP, which was payment protection,
Yeah.
and gap insurance. And that was the used car element. So it wasn't the new car sales, it was the used car element. And actually, I'd sold or delivered more cars than they had done in the whole new section of the building. So the whole new car sales had delivered 25. I delivered 43 used units and I wasn't even working there. So I think from that point, the general manager there, who is like, and you'll have somebody that reached out to you when you was my age. I mean, I'd have been 16, 17 years old. And he said, do you want to come and work for me? And I was like, well, I'm earning $600 a month, what would be it? And he's like, quadruple it. And I was like, okay,
Yeah, done.
done.
So
And since
this
that
is a
point, never looked
different
back.
dealership than the one you had delivered all those cars at that offered you a job, or the same dealership?
No, the same, yeah, the same.
Okay.
He just said, you know, this your car that you've got outside that you've got a year's free insurance. It's due to, he'd done his research. He was clever. This guy called Lee Jagger, a very, very clever guy. Almost like a father to me, and I think that sometimes happens quite a lot in the trade. And he just said it'll begin with a two, and I was like, "What, $200?" And he's like, "No, 2,000." And I was like, "Right, let's see." And it happened, and I just never looked back from that point. I got rid of my car. They gave me a free car. They
Yeah.
gave me free fuel. I didn't have to pay insurance, and I was driving around in like at the time as a Saxo Citroen Saxo VTS. Got absolutely no chance of getting insured on that if I was doing it through like my personal. But they
Yeah.
put me on the company insurance, and I just turned into a G at 17 years old. It was awesome.
So in the UK, you graduate high school at 16 at that time?
Yeah, 16. Yeah,
Okay, so you were selling and delivering hundreds of thousands of dollars of cars at 16, 17 years old.
yeah, yeah.
That's phenomenal. What were the challenges you faced doing that at such a young age?
Oh, the
Not
puppy.
many if you were selling 43, I guess.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, I thought everyone sort of looked to me for information, but it was a bit of a. I'd say I'd felt like an imposter because I had people who'd been in the trade for maybe 10, 15, 20 years, and they were sort of. They were definitely jealous, 100% jealous. But my background in finance gave me such an advantage because my language, the way I spoke about, things like halves and thirds on a credit agreement, repossession rights, early settlement. I had all the chat, and the customers just they liked that and they trusted me, and that know, like, and trust was installed through knowledge and wisdom of finance. But they'd get jealous. Like one guy used to unplug my phone. Just I'd be walking around the forecourt with a phone, and he'd just pull the wire, and he'd be stood at the window waving. So like you'd get goaded all the time. One guy, like, I used to have hair, and and so I used to have like this hair gel, like a waxy gel in a pot, and they wedged the end of the phone into the gel and put it back on the receiver. So like, and then they'd ring me and I'd go over and bang, all over the side of my head. So it being young in that environment, I was bullied. I was bullied by these older members of staff who were jealous.
They
Like
clearly weren't
those are the
busy selling
challenges.
cars, because if they were selling a lot of cars, they wouldn't have time to do all that.
No, but I'd give it back. So like we'd stand at the doorstep. Like, I used to smoke when I was younger, and they used to smoke. But it was the environment I was in. Everyone smoked in the car dealership, and there used to be a step at the side. So they all stand there, and we'd be smoking the fags, and then we'd have cups of tea. And the ones that really used to sort of grind me, and try and break me down mentally with all this speech. I remember one of them. I smoked my fag down to like three quarters. I chucked it on the floor, and then I had about I had about a quarter of my tea left, and I just threw it on the floor, but I purposely threw it on his feet. And he like chased me around the forecourt. Everyone was laughing. So it was that I had to do things like that to sort of like
Yeah.
stay in control, because like otherwise they'd have climbed over me for sure.
Yeah, sometimes, it's like you don't want to retaliate, but you got to put your foot down too and, lay down the law kind of like, hey, I might be young, but I'm not a pushover.
And it's hard when you like say when and I see myself as a people focused, relationship focused person. I love supporting people, and I'm a happy guy. I'm not somebody who can be dominant and short and abrupt and nasty. So when people are being like that with you at that age, when you don't realize that sort of stuff, it can be quite upsetting. But you just have to have that you have to segue over to that behavior just to maintain some territory
Yeah.
in that environment.
Of course. And to anyone listening too, I should have mentioned this early on, but Tony, it is 1 a.m. where you live. This dude, I can tell, is full of energy. He insisted that we had this time set. We were going to reschedule, and he was like, "No, I'll be fine. I'll drink some coffee, do a couple jumping jacks." And I was like, "All right, we definitely picked the right guy for this podcast." So, everyone, listen, I want you guys to know it is 1 a.m. where he's talking, and
Yeah.
very impressive.
I
But
did some. I was doing some star jumps before, and then I've been going like this in the kitchen. But like, right, okay, I've had the coffee. I'm on the water for the cognitivity or the cognitive function for our hydroelectric power plant. So we're ready to go, man. We're ready to go.
No, I love that. Either in an email you sent me or the video, I can't remember, but you mentioned about being self-taught, and I really want to dive into that because I think a lot of salesmen, I'm not going to sit here and say that I was self-taught, but I do think a great salesman does always take the initiative. I've dealt with bad salesmen and lazy individuals, and they say, well, if only someone would help me, and if only someone would teach me, and the knowledge is out there. I'm sure you have some things that you've come up with, but you've also probably done a lot of research, done a lot of practice. So when you say self-taught, I really want to dive in. Where did that begin in your journey of I want to get better, I want to start teaching myself things, and I want to become better than those around me? When and where did that start in your car sales journey?
That's a great question. Fantastic question. So there's I think there's in sales there's a few different levels. There's four levels. There's the what I see, the order taker at the top, which is like the lazy. There's a process there. All you've got to do is print this off, do this, touch that, and there's no sales in that. That's like everyone sells, don't they? So like if you think of a classic order taker would be like McDonald's drive-through. There's a process and they're there, and it's just order taking. We've then got the sort of product pusher, which unfortunately, like car sales gets pinned straight into that product pusher because of all these additional added protections and adequate protections that we can move customers towards to make sure that they've invested in the right products and they're not going to be falling into difficulty. So there's the product pusher. So there's somebody who doesn't really know how to deliver information and
Just
just
jamming it down
push.
your throat, like, oh, look at
Exactly.
the protection, look at that. I mean, that's like a baby's butt. That's smooth. Like you're not even like they're just saying some old school '80s stuff.
Exactly. Like it just shoved down your neck. And actually some of it sticks, but we'd say 8 in 10. So 8 don't stick, 2 do, but they were going to buy it anyway because they've bought it before. So you haven't done anything. Don't be delusional. And we've got then the overseller. Um, and the overseller is just the person who can't shut up, just goes on and on and on. And in the back of the brain, they subliminally know that there's a no. And they just don't want to stop selling because they don't want to hear the word no. So that's the overseller, can't shut up and never closes, couldn't close a bloody door. But then we've got the problem solver, right? And I wanted to be the problem solver because actually my sort of early on in my career, I started to say words like, I don't sell anything to anybody because I recognize that the word sell is a trigger word for customers to move away. It's a worry word. Same as like sign here or the payment or the monthly cost. Like all those words are all trigger words, and they trigger values in people and beliefs that have been bestowed on them from, their environment they've been in or how they've grown up. So like a parent might have said, never sign on the day, always go away and think about it. Don't do monthly payments, always pay cash. There's loads of different things there, but problem solvers, they listen more than they talk, and they think about how they can help the person towards ownership, where it's just a no-brainer. So that's what I wanted to be and that's what I'd say, and that's how I'd sell it. It was almost like a reverse psychology, because it was completely different to what all the, I've got respect for the guys that I used to work for, but unfortunately, they're just not educated themselves, or they weren't open-minded enough to work on the personal sales development and to excel, and they just always stayed on that one level, and it's just a shame, really. So that's when it started for me. And how did I do it? I just write things down that worked and worked really well and were fluent. And then I do that same thing, but then I think, right, we're doing great, but can we be better? And I just always had that attitude of, can we be better? Can we be better? And through just doing that and being maybe 1% better each day, you commute, if you compound that effect over, 10, 15, 20 years,
Yeah.
you can either be a professor, right, or you can be a master. Uh, and like a professor would be somebody who just looks at one subject and says they know everything about that subject there is to know, and then just is very closed and very easy to hit, because they've got a very, very narrow vision, and they don't want to look at anybody else's point of view, because they're just like, no, I know what I'm talking about, don't
Yeah.
need to speak to you. Whereas the master can listen to what other people are saying, think, oh, can that work for me? And constantly want to improve all the time and segue from one thing to another, because it just makes sense. So I suppose that's all I've ever had to look what he says, look what she said, listen to this manager. That manager's wrote that way. He does it this way. Oh, that's great. And just take every single little bit. So I suppose when I said self-taught, um, it's like it's like I self-collected all the bits that I wanted. Nobody ever pushed it on me, if that makes sense. I was never a parrot. I never, I never pushed. I was never loaded up. My
Load
lips were
this.
never
No
loaded
one
by
wants to
anybody
go say
else.
this to them right now, your managers.
Exactly. Yeah. So hopefully that makes sense. I know it's probably a long-winded
No, it
answer,
makes
but
a ton of sense. To me, it sounds like you're a student of the game, which top level guys always are willing to learn and adapt their game. Athletes, you look at some of the most successful athletes, they're willing to change their game and adapt new things as the game evolves. So, anyone listening, I don't care if you're a LeBron James fan or not, but as he's gotten older, he's figured out a way to still put up points in a different manner than just driving to the rim and dunking it, maybe like he did in his early 20s, where he's still putting up good points. He's just doing it a different way, and he's evolving with the game. And you said something too, and it reminded me of what a famous sales trainer said. I think it was Joe Verdi, maybe not. That a lot of guys that have been in the business for 10 years think they have 10 years experience. No, you got 1 year's experience 10 times over because you never learned anything new.
yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that. Yeah, it's just and there's a word that I say quite often to some of my team and the people that I support. I tell them that there's good wrinkles in old stuff. You've got to look at the good wrinkles in the old stuff. So all this new stuff that's coming out, um, I some of it's great, but some of it's just there because there's an ulterior motive behind it. But when you listen to, and it doesn't have to be just sales centric. It doesn't have to be just car sales centric. It can be, personal development. It can be, let's think of like motivational speakers like Jim Rohn, Earl Shoaff,
Oh, I love
Zig Ziglar. Like Jim Rohn, don't wish it was easier. Wish you were better. Like bang, ever since I heard Jim Rohn, don't wish it were easy, just wish you were better. Like, go and plant the seeds, and like I get goose pimples just thinking about it now. Like the bumps on the head that I've had from these people who are no longer with us, but they've left a legacy, and I'm just piped right into anything like that, and stuff just subliminally comes out from all the investment that I put, all the time I invest in making this. Like, because you're never going to know everything, are you? There's just too much information in the world to know everything.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
and I would say to anyone listening that wants to better themselves, whether you're new in car sales, you're in any type of sales, you're in car sales and you're stuck in a rut, or maybe you just listen to this and think this is interesting and you just want to get better, because sales can be applicable to anything. You're in 3 to 4 negotiations every day, whether you realize it or not, even if you're not in sales. So sales is applicable to everything. Can you give me just 1 or 2 examples of how you've personally self-taught, whether it's role play with coworkers, talk to yourself in the mirror, trial and error of customers, or anything that maybe I'm not thinking of? What is your go-to method for, I got this new idea, I want to try it?
you're gonna love it. Like, so I have I through my research, I keep saying I'm a people focused and relationship focused, heart on the sleeve sort of guy, right? I rule with my heart, not with my head. So, and I'm a creative thinker. So my creative side of my brain, the right side of the brain, which is creative, is color, rhythm, rhyme, song, etc. So my office and my boardroom at work, the whole room, and I'll send you. I did a little video
I
for
was
you.
going to bring that in it at some point, whether it's in the intro or I'm going to plug in the video you made, because it's the best submission I've got. And me and my wife are watching it, and I'm like trying to read what's on this wall. It almost looks like, and I mean this respectfully, think like somebody who's been in jail for like 4,000 days. It's like writing on the walls like some crazy madman. You look like you are like a crazy scientist with that board.
Like, it's got to be there because so like the boardroom is completely dry wiped. So the whole wall from top to bottom is completely dry wiped. So it's like 7 meters by 3 meters. And if you try and articulate something, so if I'm trying to train, if I'm coaching any of my team, or I'm trying to articulate what I've learned and how I'm trying to deliver it to them and how they interpret it, I have coloured markers and I have a big, massive wall, and I just write all over it. So some days there'll be a training session and you'll just see there's just stuff everywhere, drawings, arrows, and then I include them and involve them in the workshop. So I ask them questions, they give me answers, I write them up, I say, yeah, great. And they absolutely love it, because I think in most businesses you just get killed with PowerPoint presentations, and you've got someone there who's just trying to project their emotions and collect the fee. They don't care about anybody. They don't want to support them. They're not going to be there tomorrow. They're just there for the $500 that they're getting today, and they're just going to do the prezzo, and they're just going to drive to the next hotel. So it's just such a shame when that happens, because no one's ever engaged in that. But then in my office, 360, the whole room, every inch of wall is taken up by a drive wipe, and everything has a slide. So I have a slide for probably helpful emotions, probably unhelpful emotions. I have a slide for the Chimp Paradox series. I have a slide for Thomas Disc profiling, for key profiling of behaviors, body language, conflict resolution. I have every tool I need for every problem that comes through the door. So I have problems all the time coming through the door, and I've got to solve them, because that's my role. And the problem might be the customer's got 3K neg. The problem might be the customer's got a complaint. Whatever it is, I've got everything that I need on the wall. I'd do the bloody roof if I
You ever
could.
walk back to
I'd
your
do
room,
the roof.
answers if you need them?
Literally. So like, and actually the customers, they love it, because they come in and go, "What's that?" And I say, "Oh, I'll tell you exactly what that is." And I can have a customer in there for 45 minutes answering them a question, and they'll say, I've been doing this for like the last 10 years, and you've just told me that, and you changed my life. And I'm like, wow. And this is the investment. I've made this investment to go and learn all this information, and I've been able to articulate it to somebody. And Russ, it's the best feeling in the world. It really is. And that's what it's there for. Because I can, rather than explaining it, I can show them. Because a lot of people are visual.
Yeah.
Visual. They need to see what you're saying. And if they can't see what you're saying, they ain't seeing it. Simple. So that's why it's there. And actually we've got a version 2 coming up. We've got a new office, and it's getting boarded out, specifically boarded out with dry wipe, top to bottom, but like the proper board, not the sticker. I've got a raisable desk that we've just ordered, and like camera equipment to set up all the training and stuff like that for the guys. So they're gonna have a link into a system, and they can just go in. Objection handling, I'm struggling. Think, watch the videos, and there's me doing all the visual training. So yeah, it's yeah, I'd recommend it if you're
I love
allowed.
that you're willing to show the clients your sales training, because a lot of car sales trainers or managers, especially old school ones, would be ashamed for
Exactly.
to see what they're training. And this is advice I got recently from a friend of mine in a car sales Facebook group I'm in. He runs all of his sales training, and they will only practice their sales training on their service customers. And his thought process is, if whatever I'm training you, I want you to feel comfortable. It should never feel uncomfortable. You should never feel ashamed of what I'm teaching you to do. And we always want feedback from the service customers. How would you feel if I said this to you when you were buying a car? And they're like, oh, no, that makes total sense. And the fact that you will walk them back there and show them how you're training people to sell better, I think is just so authentic, so natural and not sleazy, because sleaziness just does not work in today's day and age.
Oh, creepy. Yeah. Needy is creepy. Needy sales. Like, oh, please do it because I've got to get to my target. Oh, please do it because I can't. Like, fuck, bye. No, no, no. So yeah, but customers learn as well. And that's the thing for me. Like when I teach a customer, like say here's an example for you, and this will be a big sort of like brain sort of moment, like a flash of obvious. But most sales people, if you are people focused like me and I believe yourself, you struggle with somebody who comes in who's very short and abrupt. And most salespeople, unconscious incompetent salespeople, and we'll go through that in a second, like the sort of levels of competence in sales. They'll have someone come through the door who'll be like, right, go and get me the key for that car. I want to look at it. What's your best price? And they'll be like, oh, but we need to form a relationship, and we need to do this, and we need to do that. And why are you speaking to me like this? And you're horrible, and you're a goof. And then they'll walk over to another sales guy and say, oh, that guy's an absolute whopper. Don't want to speak to him. But they're just unconscious of their incompetence to deal with a dominant and direct sort of task-focused person. So, but when I have one of those people and they come in and they say, can I just say, you guys are different. And I'm like, yeah, I know we're different, because you are very dominant, you're very task focused, you're very I and me, and you want the job done, and you've got no time for messing around, and you don't like the small talk. So that's why we've segued over to your key behavior, and we've delivered and talked to you and communicated in your language. And he's just gone, well, why doesn't everybody do that? And I'm like,
oh man, that's awesome.
I love that. They just don't understand. So and then they like take the gloves off, the punching gloves that they normally come in with. Give me $2,000 over on me trade. Give me this, doing it, baby. They take them off and they're like, I'm going to send you all my friends. Do you want me to leave you a review? Because they've just been hurt before by a garage. They've got a gremlin inside them that makes them act that way and be very short and abrupt. And once you unpick that and you present it to them and pre-position actually what you've done, it's just like, well, that's where the magic happens. And yeah, it's brilliant.
No, and I love that so much. And so many sales guys run from the tough customer, the guy that just knows what he wants. And you're in the back of your head, you're thinking this is never going to happen. And they can be tough. I'm not here to sugarcoat. That's a tougher sale. But when you sell that guy, think he was at 10 other dealerships. So he's going to know he can come back to you and he's going to send you his friends. I just had a recent encounter, basically the same story you just described. And I sold this guy a car. I mean, and then once you sell that guy a car, you usually become best friends with him. He opens up and he sent his friend down to me. And the first thing his friend said to me is, hey, you just sold John a car. If you can sell him a car, I know you can sell me a car because that dude's tough. So you're probably pretty good at what you do.
You get respect, don't you? You get respect. I look for them customers. I look for if like one of them is you can hear them because like somebody who's dominant and sort of I and me and abrupt. There's no variance in the tone of the voice, and they're very loud because they want they want an audience. They want everybody to hear what they've got to say. And my ears pick up, and I'm like, I'll walk straight out and go, I Tony, don't worry, we're going to look after you. It's going to be straight. I'm going to pre-position that we don't mess about. You don't have to go through this, this, and this. We'll just show you everything. You choose one, gives you card, we'll put it in the machine. Does that sound fair enough? And they go, oh, sounds amazing. Yeah. So like, I love that challenge because, and I even say I'll pre-position to the customer. I'll say, thank you so much for being a jerk, right? Because I needed a bit of a workout just to make sure that I was punching right, and I'm so glad that you came in today because I feel like I've had a bit of a workout and I appreciate you. And they'll be like, okay, yeah, that's great. So yeah, I really get a kick out of like turning those people around. Absolutely love it, especially on the phone, digital. Love doing it on the phone.
Like, love the phone, man, especially when you get that tough guy that calls in and you win them over. And so many car dealers, I don't know what it's like in the UK. In America, it's like split down the middle. There's like, we'll give you invoice over the phone. We're not giving you a payment over the phone. And I'm like, you can build a relationship over the phone and make it not about price. Maybe still give them a good deal. You're not going to hit them over the head for 10 grand over sticker and all these fake, fees thrown in over the phone. You got to be legit and have your price in the realm of being realistic. But when I'm on the phone, I tell people, hey, this might not be the best price you get today, but I can assure you, Tony, I'm going to deliver the best car buying experience. It's going to be the easiest. It's going to be the quickest. It's going to be the smoothest. And I'll tell you this, Tony, I don't know if this means anything to you, but I love to have fun. So if you like to have fun, it's going to be a great car buying experience.
So it's perfect. It's bang. It's like Shakespeare because you're not selling the price. You're not selling. You can't sell on the phone. What you've got to do is you've got to create value. And if you create value, so like value proposition, so like if you're ethical, we're ethical, we're supportive, we never let you down, okay? And one thing you'll get is the most that I could possibly do for you. We're not a least you can do sort of garage. Like those sort of buzzwords, they're going to move people towards you. Whereas, like you say, if somebody's just ringing and they're asking for these, the final, the last price, the final price, the invoice, I'll pay you. Will you take this? Will you take that? It's just like for me, yeah, I'll do whatever I can to help you towards ownership. But here's how it is: value. We never let you down. We're very ethical. We're 5-star rated. Read our reviews. You want to have fun. I have a process for digital sales calls, and it's based on a dating show that we have here in the UK called Take Me Out. I don't know if you've got anything similar in the US.
I'm not familiar with. I mean, I'm sure there is something like that. My wife would probably know. She's probably watching.
I'm going to give you quick examples like this, and I'm trying to be quick with it. So there's a guy that comes down a lift, okay, onto a stage. As he walks out of the lift, there's totems all the way around the stage, and there's girls stood at each totem, okay? So he comes down the lift, he turns around, does a bit of a dance, walks along the stage to the host, turns around, and then the host says to the contestant, single man, reveal yourself, right? As in reveal himself to all the ladies stood at the totems. Yeah. And he goes, hi, so like, for instance, this is what every sales guy says, yeah? Hi, I'm Tony. Are you buying a car today? Have you got a part exchange? Do you want to do finance? Do you take all the cover? And yeah, what time do you want to come in? And I don't need your number, right? And then the host says, right, customers, right? But obviously ladies, but
Yeah.
depicted as customers, yeah? Who's keeping the light on? And like for that sales guy who doesn't have the game and doesn't do it correctly over the phone, they all go,
One
like
man to
British
do
Got
it on.
Talent. And that's it, it's gone. And then the manager will be like, oh, why are we not converting digital? It's because the guy didn't take the customer's number. He didn't log it on the CRM, right? He's not ringing them back. He's delusional. He's going to be calling them a whopper because they asked for the money and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like a massive hole in the bucket. So like just deals dribbling out of the bucket because of that digital phone call. So ours is like, right, the salesman comes down the lift. The host says, right, review yourself to all these potential customers. And then they're like, right, okay, so I appreciate that you're here. Thanks for taking the time to call me. Can I just say that with me, you're going to get like whatever it takes. I'm there with you every step of the way. It's going to be the most that I can do. And we're very ethical. We're very supportive. We've got 5-star reviews. Our dealership never lets anybody down. And that's why I love working here. I absolutely love working here because I know I'm never going to have to let you down. And that sit really bad with me. So, okay, which car was it you were interested in? And let's move you towards ownership. And then,
boom,
bam, they tell them everything about the car. And they go, so what is it specifically you want to know? And the customer goes, you've answered every single question that I was going to ask.
Yep.
And I know you. I like you. I trust you. And yeah, here's my long card number because I want to leave the initial payment, and I'm coming for a test drive. And it's like that's what we've designed because of the problem and how can we be better. It's that constant ever raging river of improvement. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because
No, I love it. And it's so
digital sales.
simple, yet it's just a different way of thinking. And so many people who have been in the business for such a long time go, that would never work because I wouldn't care about that. And you can't put yourself, as somebody who's been in car sales for so long, you can't put yourself in their shoes because it's so hard for us to fathom as car salesmen what the feeling of getting a new car every 3, 4, 5, 10, 15 years truly is. We sell 3 cars a day sometimes. So we can never really empathize with what that feeling is as that customer walks through. For us, it's just another day at the office. For them, it is the second, or maybe, a lot of people renting and not buying homes, the largest purchase they will ever make in their life. And we just got to take it to the next level, not be so transactional and do everything that you're saying, on a psychological level of helping them and not just worrying about selling a car. What do you want to buy today? I'll give you the best deal in the world. I'm the greatest salesman. Look at this car. It's faster. It's better looking. It's just not going to cut it because you sound like every guy up and down the block. They're all saying
you're the same. Yeah, you're the same, Matt. Why are you different? I think if you did the difference, why are you different to everybody else? How do you stand out? Why would somebody move towards ownership with you? If you can't answer that question, you need to develop. You need to go and self-critique. Don't listen to what other people have got to say or you need to self-critique because we don't like critique, do we? We're like, wow, you give me criticism. No, and we'll have all the excuses. And it's the animal instinctive part of the brain that just says, if you're not open-minded, no one's open-minded when it comes to critique. Yeah. So if you self-critique and you have that space where you dedicate your time to invest in self-development around your subject, so you can become you want someone walking around with a fire extinguisher, right? Just in case you get too hot, because you're on fire. That's the level you should be at if you want to be earning 100K. You can earn whatever you want to earn in sales. You've just got to go and learn, and the more you learn, the more you're going to earn.
Oh, I love that. Write that. If you're listening, write that down. The more you learn, the more you earn. And the whole point of this podcast and interviewing people like yourself, Tony, is to help people learn. I kind of want to dive into something. And, when people hear Tony or other people are using psychology to use sales, I think there's, for a lot of people, a misconception that they think, oh, you do a poor job selling the car, you sit down, you wave a magic wand, you say this witty one liner, you trick them and they sell the car. And I'm sure you have some lines that work at the desk, of course. And you're not tricking anybody, you're just helping them solve their problem. But I would imagine that your psychology starts at the second they walk in the door. And that makes sitting down and doing numbers and helping them much easier. It's not this, I fumbled my way through a car deal, got them to the numbers. Now I'm going to use Tony's or anyone else's psychology to close this deal. You probably have that deal wrapped up before you even sit down for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, we don't ask for deposits. We just ask for card numbers. Like the psychology, body language, human condition, key behavior indicators. Like if you don't know about any of this stuff and you're open-minded enough, just go and learn it. And you can change your language. The words that you use are so powerful. But if you're using those words and you're unconscious of the impact that they're having, you can just be sort of like doing yourself in every day. But yeah, the psychology and the words and the prepositioning and every ingredient is there to support the customer towards making a great decision. Because, like you said, it's the most important decision they're ever going to make after buying a house, if they have bought a house, or it's either the one once every 3 years they get to this exciting point where they've got to make a decision, but it's got to be the right one because they've got to sit with it, and they don't want the remorse of making the wrong decision and sitting with that decision for the next 3 years. So you can't rush them. You can't get emotional about people wanting to go away and think about it. You've got to pre-position all this information, and you've just got to make sure that it's there. And if somebody needs to use it, you can help them towards using it and support them, because actually all they are is just worried and scared. And they just, when they say these words, I need to go away and think about it, I need a night on it, oh, I need to speak to my wife, all they're saying is, show me the juice is worth the squeeze, make me feel, take away this pain, or this indecision that I've got, please. That's what they're trying to say to you, but they can't say that to you because they're human beings. They're very, very complicated. So you've got to be able to see that, pre-position it, and move them forwards towards a great decision.
Can you give me a few examples that you hear that are bad psychological sayings or lingo or things that people say that is a very common car sales thing versus what you recommend replacing that type of terminology with? For
Well,
example,
yeah, I
someone's
think
like, what are you trying to budget, or just something weird that's like a trigger versus what you would say you've learned with your psychological.
the very first, like my very first key learning, or creative sort of memory, long-term memory, is because everyone goes on about, like, oh, when we're doing the deal, the words when we're doing the deal, but what you've got to remember is that, what stage is that? That's like stage 6, stage 7 of the process, isn't it? You're more or less right at the end there. So when you walk back and you reverse engineer and you think about the person who walks out and stands in front of you on the forecourt who you never met before, what's the one sentence, the first sentence that comes out of your mouth? What is it? What do people say? And in the unconscious incompetence days for me, it was, "Hi, you okay there?"
Can I help you?
Yeah. And then they go, "Yeah." And I go, "Can I help you at all?" But what that body language is like, "Can I help you at all?" And I already subliminally thought that you're going to say no. And my body language was projecting my inner emotion. And they'd go, "No." And I go, "Oh, all right then. Well, if you need me, why would you need me?" So I pressed another button there, haven't I? What do you mean, why would we need you? And then I'll be over there smoking a fag at the door with coffee, talking about you, and you'll be awkward, and you'll know, because of your sixth sense that you have, which nobody realizes they've got, you'll know that I'm talking about you, and I'll be telling them that you've brushed me off, and that you're a whopper, right? So
I
you're
love
not
the
going to
word
want
Whopper. I never heard that before. I think that's
It's
hilarious.
like it's the burger, isn't it? We just call it the Whopper, like
Well,
the
I know I've
Burger
heard of
King.
the burger, but you call people a Whopper. I love that.
Well, that's what I would. That's what an unconscious, incompetent salesperson would call a customer that they've not decoded correctly. They call them a Whopper, and I hate that. I hate it. So I change it to like, oh, well, what are they? And they go, my guys come into me and say, right, this guy's super high D. I'm like, okay, fine. So we need to be very short, very task driven. No getting to whatever. No trying to be his friend. He's not here to get acquainted. Stay in his communication style, and they nail it. And we have some guys that come in and say, "Oh, this guy's a high C. He's got an Excel spreadsheet and he's measuring the boot." And I'm like, right, okay, just let him do it. Don't answer any of his questions unless you know exactly what the answer is. So that there's certain things that we do. But back to the question. So, hi, okay there? Yeah. Do you need any help at all? No. So I'd walk out and I'd say, good morning. So I learned this. I learned this information. I got it off YouTube donkeys years ago, right? I was like, right, good morning. And the customer would say, you try and role play with me now. So
Okay.
good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Tony.
Nice to meet you, Tony. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic. And your name?
Russ.
Russ, how can I help you today?
We're just out here looking, man.
Excellent, fantastic. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you the full walk around of the dealership. I'm going to show you where everything is, how to find all the information, and when you're ready, okay. Again, my name's Tony. Come and grab me. You can have any key for any car. It doesn't matter if it's 3 or 4 deep. We've got guys who get these cars out. We'll take you on a test drive. It's fine if you're not ready to buy today. We can do the information day, and that's the most I can do for you. Does that sound fair enough?
That sounds totally fair. That's crazy.
Excellent.
That's good.
But then what happens? But then there's like a little magic thing that I learned. So when you do that, I took away all the customers' fears or what they thought was going to happen. So this guy's going to try and stick with walkers around, but I gave them direction. I pre-positioned that they were going to think I was going to sell them the car today, but I wasn't, and they was allowed to test drive, and it was allowed to be information day. That's absolutely fine. What happens then is there's this magic that the gloves come off, right? The boxing gloves from the customer come off, and they say, "Well, what it is, Tone, we've got this, Renegade over here, and we owe credit on it, and we want to swap over to this car. So is that something you can do?" Absolutely. Follow me.
And they just start spewing all their problems, and they trust you. You've now become an authoritative figure because you sound good.
Know me because I've introduced myself. Like me because I've said test drive, information day, all that's fine. 3 cars deep, that's the most I can do. That's what we do here. And then trust. No, like and trust. Bam. And then that's it. And that customer will never ever go anywhere else. I've got people from other dealerships I've worked at 10 years ago who text me on Messenger on Facebook, "Where are you? I'm coming." I'm like, okay, I won't go anywhere else. I only want to speak to you. I'm not speaking to it. Right, okay. They're just people of habit. And once you leave that creative memory, that you get a subliminal pass into their creative memory, it's a subliminal thought. When they want to buy a car, they come to you. It's non-negotiable. Regardless if you haven't got the car they want, they'll choose. Like if you go to a vending machine and you want a Mars bar, and there isn't one there, you go for a Twix, and that's exactly what they do. They're like, "Well, Tony ain't got one of them, so we'll just get that off Tony." And I feel very privileged to have that sort of referral background, but I also deserve it because of all the thousands of hours. I'm probably 10,000 hours deep into sales mastery. So
that's incredible, and I love that you understand that you deserve it, and that's good that it's good to be humble, but with hard work and smart work, because you don't want to be the guy who's been doing the same thing for 20 years in a row. You're getting better, and you're helping people. You're training your other sales guys. You're helping everyone get better along the way. Now, I want to ask you, because I do not know anything about psychology. I've read a couple books about body language and stuff like that, but you mentioned your sales guys are trained so well that they can come into you. I don't even know what this means, but to say this guy's a high C, a high D, how do you identify that within the first 5-10 minutes of talking to somebody? And then maybe we don't need the full lesson because I'm sure it's very in depth.
Yeah.
Give me like an example of like, okay, this guy comes in within him saying these first couple words and the eye contact and this, that, the other. I know he's X and we approach it Z way.
Yeah, it's very simple because I've had to simplify it. So this is like, hours and hours and hours of research, 3 or 4 books and training courses. Actually, a job that I was in. It's a lot, but really simple. Someone walks through the door, my guys will say, "Or on the phone, because the phone is 70% of the business here in the UK. It's all digital." So I call it physical. So it's not physical until you've done the digital. So physical, yeah. I try and call it that, but I can't. So when they go up to the customer, they'll say, "Right, good morning. My name's Tony," and they'll say, "I'll go around," and they'll go, "Right, how are you today?" And it's simple, right? Like the line in the middle of this screen, okay, on this side, right?
Yeah.
If I say to you, "How are you?" and you would say, because I know what your key behavior is, you would say, "Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?" You'd literally do it like that.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, "Right, okay." Yeah, you would. So I'd say, "Right, okay, you're on this side, okay? So you're the people and relationship focused, and you're more up here because you're more sort of extrovert like I am, okay? Yeah. So you're in this corner here. You love everybody. It's we, it's us. You're talking those words. And when somebody says to you, "How are you?" you'll say, "Yeah, I'm great. How are you?" So you'll return. So that puts you over on the left, people and relationship focused, influencer, maybe steady sort of side over here. Whereas if you say to somebody, "Hi, how are you?" and they go, "Yeah, I'm fine." I can't do it because it's the moment. There we go. So we go right over to this side, and that would be a high D. So you've got I and S on my side, and then you've got D in the top corner and C in the bottom corner. So over that side, they are task-focused people who rule with the head. Okay, they're reserved that way. They're reserved and they don't like conversation. They're speaking, "I want this." Well, if it was me, I'd want this, and show me exactly what you mean, and write it down. I need it in figures in front of me. I don't want to listen to you. I want to see it on paper, and I want it in a good format. So that's how I understand it, and just by asking that one question. So if you say to somebody, "How are you?" and they say, "I'm fine," and there's no processions. They don't say, "How are you?" then they are a D or a C. So they are dominant and conscientious because they just care about themselves. They're task focused. They're just there to get the job done. They're not interested in making a relationship or forming a bond. They don't see any utility in forming any bond with you. They just want to get in, get the job done, and get out of there because that's their key behavior. Whereas the person who says, "Yeah, hi, how are you?"
Yeah.
you know that they're people focused, and you're like, okay, so we're in a comfortable zone, but me and you've got to be careful because we're both on the same profile. So I'm cautious. I've got to be very, very careful and not climb and get excited because we can climb each other and get so excited that we're just we overload. So I'm conscious to be careful and regulate our behavior. But then over a high D, I'd have to really turn my tonality down. I'd have to be very short, very abrupt. I'd have to answer questions, but without any smiling and without any trying to be. I'd just have to be straight. So that's the basic side to it, and that's what my guys use. So if you've got a spreadsheet and you're a bit of a nerd, then you're a C. If you're a douche, you're a D, right? You can just say douche. Douche is a D. So like somebody who's just like short, abrupt, don't care about anybody. Whereas if you're happy and you're relationship focused and you're energetic, you're an influencer. And if you like customers who give you nervous smiles or like laugh when you give them the figures and like, so they're like a steady relationship, like a Mother Teresa type person. So you've got to talk to them in different ways. You've got to say, right, okay, I guarantee that this is the best, and you're going to have made a great decision, and I'm here to support you all the way through and hold your hand, and there's nothing can go wrong here. Are you with me? But that if it's genuine and you are supporting and you understand that behavior, you know what words to use to move them out of fear towards being courageous. So that's yeah,
Tony,
that's
you
the
were
simple way of
not
doing it.
lying when you said you were the world's best objection handler and maybe one of the world's best car salesmen. I mean, you just gave a master class in less than 5 minutes on that is like how to be a chameleon for professionals, because every car salesman's ever heard from the manager, just be a chameleon, act like your customer. Easier said than done, first off. And you are doing it tactfully, if that's even a word. You are doing it strategically. So it's not just like firing from the hip. You truly understand the different personality types. You are teaching people how to understand it, and then you're teaching them how to approach it. Dude, I literally had a customer last night that was the nervous little, couldn't make up her mind. It was a great deal. It was exactly what you wanted. I couldn't close her. And I bet if I said, and I would have meant it too, it wouldn't have been like, oh, I'm just trying to sell this car. She was a young girl. She was with her boyfriend. They loved me. I loved them. Everything was perfect. Just couldn't make up their mind. And I bet if I had said, hey, look, you're making a great decision. Don't overthink this. I'm going to be here. I've been here for 10 years. I'm going to hold your hand along the way. I'm going to answer, just A to Z. You're in Russ's hands, and this is going to be the greatest decision of your life. Why don't we just go ahead and get this wrapped up? Does that sound fair? If I had thought to said that, I bet she says yes. But I was being, I don't want to say sleazy. I think I was being too pushy, looking back. And I'm not a pushy guy, but I was just hitting her with the, come on, it's a good deal. You know it is. Why don't we just wrap it up? And I just wasn't on my game, and looking back, I probably wasn't on my game last night.
And that's great, right? Because like you've got a gift there where you have just because you're people focused and your heart's on your sleeve, right? You've just self-critiqued and you're open-minded and you've just taken that information and actually that little 1%, that little nugget will as long as you give yourself permission, will increase your sales in that arena of the slow, low, steady, nervous customer who is just like, oh, I just don't know. And I've been taught by my mum and my dad never to sign on the day, and I've got to go and sleep on it. Da, 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 da. You know exactly how to answer that, how answer them questions. Now it's all about, we're never going to let you down. You're making a great decision, and I'm here to support you all the way. And yeah, I think I need to make this decision for you. So and like that's literally how you would do it. I know you can't make this decision, so I'm going to make it for you. I know it's good for you. I am here to support you. If anything ever went wrong, I would be here. There's the paperwork. And they go on then. Like literally, that's what they do. And that's because we do it day in and day out. They just need those words of support and ethical nourishment and to remove that slight doubt that's sat in their like what we call the different parts of the brain, but like the prefrontal cortex, which has got the logic fed by the amygdala 5 seconds after the amygdala fires, and that fear that comes from the amygdala, the part of the brain, the animal instinctive part of the brain, is just fighting all the time to keep us away from danger. But if you pre-position these things, if you tell the customer what's going on in their brain and you pre-position, like they're like, wow, like what you've just said is exactly what I was thinking. And I'm like, I'm here to support you. I get you. I've got you. I've got you. Like I'm holding your hand all the way through. So yeah, it's very, very powerful stuff. Again, if you're open-minded and you want to invest in yourself, just get under the bonnet of all that stuff, and you look after your customers in that way. Your commissions will always look after themselves. Like you'll never have to have any anxiety about commissions and start overselling ever.
I just love this, Tony. And, I said this, I think, on every podcast I've done. I think this is the fourth one. I've said this on every single one. If not one person listened to this video and it was just a conversation between me and you, I have learned so much already, and I'm so excited just to take what you have said today and then go do my own research, because I can use the psychology to help people. And it's just insane. And I'm kind of curious as I sit here, what kind of personality, what letter am I? I'm sure you can tell by
You and I, you're just the same as me. You're very relationship and people focused. You've probably, you've probably got like a little bit of ADHD like me. You're probably like overactive. You're probably the life and soul of the party. You get things started, but you can't finish them. But you got it started, and that's what it needed. You're probably a bit messy around the desk. You probably leave cards lying around, keys.
You're
Like
describing me to a
that's
T.
me.
I mean,
That
the whole start
that's
things, like this shelf behind me, I start like it was like my time, 7:15. It came in the mail. I was like, let's put it up right now. I'm always like, the podcast is
yeah.
in. We got time. Let's go.
Why
I didn't even
not?
finish. You can see here, I didn't finish, but we started. There's nothing on these middle shelves, but we
Yeah, but
started.
it's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome, and you got it done, and that's it. We just get after things, and we just need that extra like bit of energy at the end, to get things finished. But we're already on to the next thing. So,
Oh my, yeah. I
but
didn't
we
even
got the
finish
party started.
that got started, and then I'm trying to hook up this mic, which was a failure. But I was like, all right, that's good enough. Time for the mic.
Well, let's do like disc profiling. Okay, so if we do the DISC, right, the D, let's say the internet. Okay. Or that mic, in fact. No, let's stick with the internet. So the internet's just been invented. This is the cable that plugs you into the internet. Okay. So we go to the D and go, wow, internet, right? Plug it in. The D goes, what's that? Give it a bang. Right, what does it do? Right? That's the D. Okay. We go to the I, say, internet, this new thing, plug the cable in. And the I goes, what? So this, I can connect to the whole world. And they go, yeah. And then the I goes, but I can create like groups and then parties, and then I might even be able to like get so many people that we can have like a massive concert, and this is going to change the world, and I've got so many ideas. That's the I, and the I's like, wow. Have you got any more cables? I'll do 3 or 4 different projects. That's the I, okay? The S below, the S, the steady. You show them the cable, and then they go, I'm actually all right as I am. Do I have to? I don't like change. I'm actually happy to stay here. Can I go on then? But he promised me everything's going to be okay. So that's the S. Okay. Then we move over to the C, the conscientious. He says, I'm not plugging that cable in that wall until you show me exactly what it does, what the outcome of what it does is, and I want every single KPI, every single line. I want an exact report with, a click-through rate, and then what's the disadvantages of having it over not having it. So get me that information, and I'll plug it in. Oh my god, you nerd! Like that's what the I says. Like just plug it in, you nerd. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's great. So that's and you sit in that top influencer corner. But yeah, we're talking us. We're very high. We laugh, we smile, we try, but we've got to be careful that we don't bleed off and segue over into the D with the I or the C, because they'll just go, just calm down, please calm down, because I can't understand, and you're confusing me, and I'm not interested in becoming your friend. I just need the facts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
no, I think we all know somebody like that, and I think when non-sales people who don't understand sales that might be listening to this, or people who are new to sales, and they're like, I don't want to trick my customer, I don't want to manipulate them, and I don't think that's your angle at all. I can just tell talking to you, you're very authentic and transparent. Always want what's best for the customer, but with this type of knowledge does come some type of responsibility, because you are capable with the knowledge you have to put people in bad positions. I had a good question written down here. How do you ensure that your use of psychology in sales is ethical and respectful to your clients, and anyone you teach this to uses it for the greater good, and not to put people in 96-month loans at 21%, and do things that are unethically wrong when there are better alternatives for the client, not what's best for the salesperson's commission?
yeah. So as long as what you're doing is ethical and supportive and makes sense, and you pre-position. So this is my key word on everything. If you pre-position everything, so PPE, not the stuff you put over your face, pre-position everything. So I pre-position my psychology. So I do not use. There's a dark side to neuro-linguistic processing. There is a dark side to it. So that is like the deepest dark side would be to put somebody under. I completely forgot what is it when they hypnotize somebody.
Yeah, like
That's like the dark side, and like that sort of level of neuro sort of control. There's a dark side to that, and I think that gets mixed up. But we pre-position all the psychology. So, for instance, I've pre-positioned with you that actually I've learned your key behavior by spending some time with you and listening to what you've got to say. So I genuinely understand you now, and that's what we do with the customer. So when it comes to the figures, it's the customer's decision, and they've got to make a great decision. Here in the UK, we have a financial conduct authority, so the FCA. We're all regulated members of the FCA. We have to do biannual training where we have to go through every single insurance conduct of business rule and answer like these questions, multiple choice questions. We have to get an 80% out of 100 score. And if we, the stuff that we don't do, we have to go and train on. So we're constantly being trained by the financial regulation system over here. So everything that we do is transparent, clear, fair, and non-misleading. If it's seen to be misleading, the customer can just reject the deal. They can cancel it. So there's absolutely no point in trying to mislead somebody, because the law over here is, I mean, I don't know what the law is in America around credit and
in America, there's you can get a little crazy if you want to. I've never dealt with that myself, but I see people have been put in those positions, and you can easily have a customer over leverage their credit, overpay for a car, add on warranties at markups that, depending on their credit, are uncapped. You could sell them a warranty for $4,000 over cost. There are no caps on products, assuming the customer's credit allows.
The thing for me is, like, I mean, we sell guarantees. I don't use warranties because this is the thing, like warranties here in the UK were insurance backed. And that meant that we were buying something and insurance for somebody else. But then that person was then dealing with the insurance company. But the insurance company would be like jerks and they wouldn't pay out.
Yeah.
And then the customer comes back to us anyway. So then, because we're ethical and supportive and we'll never let you down, and we keep the 5-star rating, and we look after people, we just do the work anyway. So we changed from having an insurance-backed third party, and we went with our own guarantee, and I named it One Stop Worry-Free Guarantee. And it just covers everything. Any mechanical, electronic failure.
Sure, your products that you sell.
Yeah.
I love that.
And actually, we sell that for a couple of $1,000, and I believe the value that I've installed in that product, I think it's worth more, because I see every customer that comes through the door and has like a $1,500 bill or a $2,000 invoice, and we pay it. So when you see like some of these insurance back warranties getting invoiced out at like $379, and you just think, that they're never going to pay out. They're never going to pay a $1,500 ticket or anything like that. So because I've seen that, I believe in my product.
Yeah.
And that allows me to be able to present the product as if I believe in it, and in you, this is what you're going to get, and these are all the things and I genuinely believe in it. So I just never have a problem selling. If you don't understand your product and you don't know what it does and you don't see it front end, middle and back, you don't actually, you can't project it to a customer. You can't move them towards investing in that because you haven't got enough information to persuade them. And persuasion is just a transfer of emotions. But if the
Yeah.
emotions are not there because you've never seen that customer who's had a gearbox fitted at £2,000, and yeah, you paid £2,000 for a guarantee for 3 years, which I think is very competitive for our guarantee because everything's covered.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's a dark side to it. Anyone, if I thought anyone was being unethical, I was using it to their advantage. I just put stop to it instantly. But I don't think I've never had anybody. So you can show people loads of stuff, but they've got to want to do it. There's no point in there's no carrot and stick. I'm not a dictator. I show people how to do stuff, and it's got to be their idea to do it. Because when I'm not there, if I'm away on a business trip, if I'm away on a training course or whatever, I want them to act how they would act if I was there. So if I'm not there, they've got to still act the same. So they've got to do it of their own free will. So yeah, I think the characters I've selected for the team, they've all got very good key behaviours, and they love the position, they love working there, so they would never use it in a bad way. But they always pre-position it anyway. They tell the customer what they are, and then the customer's like, "What?" And it's like part of the process. It can create. It changes lives. It genuinely, like, people say to me, "What do you do?" And I know in car sales, there's a bit of a gremlin, right, in the salesman's head, because he goes, "What do I do?" Because if he says car salesman, there's something attached to that word it's like a Christmas tree. It's been covered in, negativity, negative comments, and this guy did, he's a jerk, he did that. But actually, so if anyone ever asks me what do you do, I just straight up, I'll just say, I change lives.
And you
they'll
believe
go,
that too, which is
I
powerful.
genuinely believe it, yeah. Because customers come in to buy cars, like the car's just like it's a piece of metal, and they're driving it and I've just got to move them towards ownership, and they've got to, they've got to be happy with the investment. And I use words like investment, ownership, and you've not heard me say payments, sell, buy. I don't use any of those words because they're all triggers. And actually, within that friendship, know, like, trust, when someone knows you, likes you, and trusts you, in the middle of that triangle, you get, that's the friendship.
Yeah.
And once you get that friendship there, like, peel the layers of an onion. Like, the first layer is like, "Hi, you okay? How are you getting on?" Like, on the forecourt. The second layer is like, "Oh, the figures." And then when they get what they want, you peel the third layer, and they start going, "Oh, I'm so excited," and "I was worried," and you start to see the real person, and that's the friend. You start to see the friend, and actually, you can start to coach them then, and help them with things, and they'll ask you questions about. So how do I deal with an unruly work colleague then? What would I do? Because they're like that. What you said there.
Yeah.
So what would I do to deal with that? And actually, they get coached. I've coached like businesses who come in to buy cars, and I've sat down with the owners, and then I've ended up doing like an hour and a half coaching session with them for free, not charged because they're buying a car. So that's what I say. I change lives, and I really believe it, because some people come to me afterwards and say, "You don't realize what you've done," and I'm like, "No, I know what I've done, and yeah, and I'm really happy for you, and I appreciate the feedback."
Yeah.
But I like bad feedback. I'm really hungry for bad feedback. So
Well, you're not going to get any out of me today. I got nothing bad to say about you. I want to lead into our final segment here. This is the most exciting part. I'm probably going to tease this part in the intro. On our call, or on the video Tony had sent me, he said, "Bring your objections. I'm ready, and I'm going to handle them." So I didn't want to, I'm not the type of guy when I role play to come up with the crazy objections. When people role play, they want to hit you with the 1 out of 1,000, hey, my kid just got hit by a car. I got to leave. I'm not here to hit you with these crazy objections, but I want to hit you with some tough, realistic objections. And I'm going to paint a little picture. I want it to feel authentic that most car salesmen face. I've faced them. I've struggled with them.
Yeah.
One I really like right now, I would assume the UK has higher interest rates than normal. Is that America is the same as like that right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure you have something good for this because you've been facing this objection. And many car salesmen who are used to saying to customers, hey, it's 2% for 10 years, great news. And they go, woohoo. Now they're saying, hey, it's 12% for 5 years. So let's say I love the car. Everything's good. We do a credit app and it comes back higher than I expected. And I just say, hey, Tony, love the car, love you, did a great job. Love the car. I think I'm just going to wait till rates come down. Really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Oh, excellent. Good. And I'm so glad that you've said that, Russ, because we actually had another customer yesterday who said exactly the same as what you've just said. They were going to wait for the rates to come down, but you've got a trade, right?
Yes, I do.
So what you understand with the trade, your car depreciates every single month, don't you?
Yeah, I get that.
Okay, so if you waited until the rates had come down, actually the difference between what the rate is now and what the rate would be then, actually your trade may have gone down by, like 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 bucks. So any saving that you'd have got, it'd be wiped out. But great news is what we can do is, let's say we start with your agreement today at this rate, and we know it's like 2.4% over. Is it like 2-3% over what it should be? We're going to run for the next 6 months. And then once the rates come down, and if the rates come down, what you do is you just come straight back in and we're just going to refinance you on the new rate. Does that sound fair enough?
Well, to answer your question, that sounds fair, but I love that. That was a really good objection to anyone listening. Instead of me breaking it down, break down what you did there, Tony. I want you to, because there's a couple things you did there that I picked up on that were
Okay.
they were not sleazy, they were authentic, they were truthful, and they helped you sell a car. I'm sure that works very often. So break down what you did there.
So first of all, whatever objection you ever get, you should always start with a high vibe or a high emotion. So I said, well, Russ, I'm so glad you've said that. Because like Russ was like, what? I'm just giving you bad news. And you're so glad that I've said it. So that's the first sort of staple part of any objection. And you don't have to say, I'm so glad you said that. You can say it however you want to say it. But I prefer to say and authentically say, I'm just so glad you've just said that. And actually, yesterday, we had another customer. So I'm saying, you're not on your own. This happens all the time. And this other customer did it because we're creatures of habit. Okay. So this other customer said exactly the same as what you did yesterday. And what I said to him was, so you've got a trade. He had a trade. Yeah. And then obviously we've got the 2 or 3 months or 4 months depreciation because they've got a depreciating asset. And I started putting numbers in there like 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. It could go down. So that's like that goes straight into the subliminate memory or the creative memory. So he's visualizing the payment going down on his trade. And actually, I was like, for the 2 or 3% difference that it'd be, you'd have lost that difference by waiting, which is genuine. It's real. It's right.
Yeah.
And then the third part of the objection is that after the sale, so we've done the deal, we can refinance you on the lower rate if the price comes down. And let's face it, like if somebody couldn't refinance with you, they could just go to the bank and refinance anyway. But after 6 months of them paying the payments, if you do get some form of gratitude payment from the lender, which is part of your F&I, that's secured because it can't be debited back after that period of time. So there's quite a lot going on in that, but ultimately, I listened to what he had to say, and then I overcome each objection and gave a solution that actually works. And when I say, does that not sound, that sounds fair enough? Like, how can it not be fair enough? So it's a close, isn't it? Because someone's going to go, yeah, right, okay, bang, let's do that. Let's go. Here's the pen. Approve the paperwork. Don't say sign here. Sign the contract. Like none of that. Just approve the paperwork. And I'm so glad you've moved towards ownership and you've chose me. It means so much to me. I'll never let you down. Do you know we can just go on and on and on.
I got to rewatch. I wish, I said this on every podcast I've done so far. I wish I could be taking notes. I don't think I can take notes and conduct the interview. But just like I've said in the other ones, I'm going to go back and watch this and take notes. And if you're listening, I hope you're taking notes because there's so much free value here. I'm going to hit you with one more. And I think we're going to wrap it up. I know it's getting late out your way. And you work tomorrow, Tony?
Yeah, I'm in tomorrow morning. I'm in 5 hours. But again, I love it. I'm when you love what you do, like it never matters.
You're a machine, but sleep is good. So I want you to get a little bit of sleep. Let's see. I got one more here. I just want to pick the best one I got written down over here. I think this is something a lot of sales guys face. Can be tough to deal with. Get back from a test drive. Everything seemed to be going smooth. All right. Thanks, Tony. Just going to go look at some other options. Appreciate your time, man. You got a card on you?
Oh, like most salesmen are like, oh. Again, it's just pre-positioning. So I know that's going to happen. So here I've put in a TTR, like trial close. I've got 4 or 5 trial closes in the first 20 minutes of a conversation that start to leave the resticular activation thoughts with the client, so that when we get back, they know I'm going to ask that question, and they know how I'm going to ask it, and I've got like a win-win. So you've got to have a win-win in your process. You've got to have a win-win. You can't have a win-lose. And when someone comes back off a test drive, if you say, "So how did you?" and they go, "Yeah, I'm just going to go away and think about it," that's a win-lose. Customers won because they've got what they want, and that's fine. But yeah, if you haven't pre-positioned and done a trial close prior to the test drive, then yeah, unconscious incompetence in my view. So what I do is I'd say, okay, so great, Russ. I'm so glad you've turned up for our appointment, and like it's nice to meet you in person. You're just as cool as you sounded on the phone. You've brought your driving license with you, like I said, haven't you?
Yeah, I got my license.
Excellent. Because when we get back from the test drive, that's what the credit company are going to need to be able to conduct the credits, so that we can have the car ready and have you driven away in the next 20 minutes.
Oh man, I'm not buying a car today.
Oh, excellent. Right. I'm so glad you said that, because most of our customers say exactly the same as that. But can I just ask you why?
This is the first place I stopped. Just started looking, man. So I just really not ready to commit to anything today.
All right. Okay. Excellent. Thanks for being honest with me. I love that. I love that you've been honest with me there. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to go out on the test drive, and I'm the world's best objection handler. So is it all right if when we're on the test drive, I go through all the sort of features and we get to know each other a bit better? And can I try and change your mind by the time you get back? It's fine if I haven't been able to convince you, but have I got your permission to do that?
You can try. I don't know if you
Excellent.
will.
I'm excited. I genuinely am excited. So let's go on the test drive, and let's see where this goes. I'm genuinely excited. I love it when this happens. I really do.
So you will say to a customer, "I'm going to try to change your mind in 15 minutes. Be ready for it." And if you say no, no problem. But I'm gonna try. You actually say that to them?
100%. You've got to be authentic, because like, what are you there for? But like,
that's
you're not going to buy a car today because you want to go and look at other cars, right? That's fine. And when they get back off the test drive, if you started saying that, I'd say, look, all cars are the same, right? What isn't the same is the people that you're going to speak to and the places you're going to buy from. So when you walk out of here, I want to have left my best possible mark on you so that wherever you go, you're going to want to come running back to me. So let me go through the whole process with you. Let me show you everything that's available. So you've got everything you need to know. And the moment you walk into that next dealership and there's a bulldog running around and you get ignored, you're just going to come straight back to me like a boomerang. Does that sound fair enough?
Dude, you're crazy actually, and I mean that in a good way. This has been probably the most informative conversation I've had so far. We did one with a guy who sells McLarens. That was
I
amazing.
watched that one. It was brilliant. Yeah.
Super insightful. I just posted one today with Frank Creniti. Sold 140 cars last month. Phenomenal. Great content. I did one with a 19-year-old kid yesterday. So much to learn from a kid that's 19 selling 30 cars. But you have just like a whole different angle and approach that I think every car salesman could start implementing tomorrow. I mean, the way you articulated yourself is insane. I want to leave the viewers with this final thought. This actually just came to me right now. How do you know when it's time to let the customer leave? In a nutshell, stop selling. Just say, you know what, you should go home and think about it. How? Because I think a lot of car sales guys become that pit bull and don't stop, and they never see them. How do you know it's okay? They're not buying. There's nothing in my bag of tricks. Or not bag of tricks. I hate to use that word. There's nothing in my arsenal that is going to work, and I don't want to feel pushy. How do I let them out of here and get them to come back?
It's so simple. It really is. But when you're sat in that like animal instinctive brain pattern with that customer, and you're just like, ah, and you're not here at the logical and the empathic sort of part of the brain. You just got to be honest. Just got to be honest. So like the word prepositioning and speak the truth is like, how did this not come out during this podcast? Speak the truth with good purpose.
With good purpose. Wow.
Speak the truth with good purpose. So preposition exactly what you're thinking and what you're saying to your customer. So look, we've been on the test drive. You love the car. Hopefully you love me. I love you guys. I love the way you come across. I can see that you're in that sort of steady quadrant. Your relationship and people focus just like me, okay? And I know that you've been taught in your from the environment and the values that you've been bestowed on you from your family and your history, that don't put a noose around your neck. Don't sign or approve the paperwork on day one. Always have a night to think about it. And I really respect that. So rather than trying to give you, because I've got spiel, I've got things I can say, I've got things that I can sort of try and help you to move towards ownership. But I think the best thing for me to do, the most I could do, is respect you and your decision to go away. And I know that tonight when you go to sleep, if you don't wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning worrying, you're going to wake up at 7 o'clock ringing me and leaving me the reservation. So let's do that. Does that sound fair enough? And I'll tell you what happens. I don't need a night to think on it. I'm going to go for it. Like,
I knew you were going to say
it. But that's genuine. It's genuine, and you've actually been honest, and you've projected all your emotions. You've been the heart on the sleeve, and like the customer's just gone, I can feel it, I can see it, I can hear it, I trust you, I know you, I don't need a night to sleep on it. You're reversing the psychology, but you're genuinely reversing psychology. You're not using dark sides of neuro-linguistic processing. You're just being authentic. And that's all it boils down to. But we're too scared to be authentic. We're too bothered and pushed by managers who pretend they know what they're doing and project their emotions onto salespeople. That doesn't work. It'll never work.
Wow. You really weren't lying when you said you're the world's best objection handler. I believe it. I've never had someone break things down the way you have today. I want to truly thank you for coming on and sharing your insights with everybody out there. last remarks, real quick, if somebody wanted to just try to emulate what you have done and are continuing to do, where might they find access to this information that you have come up with?
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. YouTube, TED Talks, books, Audible, people, Jim Rohn, speakers. It's everywhere. But what you've got to do is you've got to go and take a little bit. You've got to get bumps on the head. So imagine my head, right? It's round, and
bald.
Jim Rohn,
I'm just kidding.
bald, yeah. And Jim Rohn bumps me on the head here, okay? Because I've listened to Jim Rohn maybe today or tomorrow, yeah, hypothetically. And then I read a book about persuasion, and then I read a book about psychology in the work, so the chimp paradox or whatever. And I'm constantly topic bumping my head all the time, right? And then these bumps sort of swell out, all right? But then what happens is the bumps, we go to sleep, and you said it was really important to sleep, and I can't agree more with you, because we have the hippocampus cerebrum, which is the two little sort of receivers either side of the amygdala in the brain, and they take all the information during the day. It's probably about 74 hours worth of hard drive on either side. One side goes to the logical memory, the other side goes to the creative. When we go to sleep, we have neuroplasticity, and those memories and everything that we've learned gets sent into the long-term memory. Okay, so all them bumps on the head, they all start to sort of fire and speak to each other. So imagine all the bumps now, and then they're all talking to each other, and my paradigm becomes bigger. My head becomes bigger. Does that make sense? But not physically bigger. But the world is the knowledge of is a fact here. It's just a mind-blowing fact, right? The knowledge of the world in 1900 doubled like every sort of like 7 months, 8 months, something like that. The knowledge of the world, okay? The knowledge of the world today doubles every 7 minutes. You're never going to know everything. It's mental, isn't it? You're never going to know everything. But does that mean you shouldn't know anything, or you shouldn't want to know anything?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And that'd be the problem for us, the high eyes, is like, we want to know everything, but we can't. We've got to slow it down and take a little bit. Like, how do you eat an elephant?
Yeah.
Just one little bite at a time. One little bite at a time. Eventually, you could eat an elephant, but it'd take you one bite at a time. And all them bits of knowledge and learnings, and that's what you're doing. So it's got to be relevant to what you. So if you're a sales guy and you're stuck with a subject, you've got to go and learn about that subject. And when you've got past your stuck, you then move on to what the next thing is. So what's your top stuck challenge? So like if you're a salesperson, you're getting bullied by another salesperson in a dealership, how do I deal with unruly people? How do I deal with unruly behavior? What's the best way to deal with bullies? You'd go and learn about it, and then you'd behave in that way that you'd learn to overcome that problem you've got in your life. And it's not just in sales, it's life, it's everything. So everywhere. I can't, it's hard to answer that question.
Moral of this podcast is it's simple. You just got to put the work in. But
learn more.
Thank you so much for being on, Tony. This was a blast. I'm going to extend an offer, which is the first time I've done this, that you will be back on this podcast. We have more to talk about. We're going to dive.
Oh, like, yeah. That's the other thing. Yeah, can I just say that's the other thing? When you learn stuff, you've got to test it out. So like this glass, let me just show you. So like this is you learning, right? So you fill up the glass, right?
Yep.
But then the glass is full, okay? But you can't learn anymore, can you? So what I've got to do is I've got to say, right, Russ, can you drink some of this for me, please?
Oh, and I take some out of it. I drink some of the glass. It gives you more room to learn.
Exactly. So when you write things down, so write things down in color, so it sits in your creative memory. but then verbalize what you're learning to other people. So teach, train, coach, affirm what you've learned, and that releases that information. It sends it into your long-term subliminate memory, and then you've got space to learn other things. If you're just learning stuff all the time, but you're not actually putting any of it into practice or articulating it to anybody, it sits in there's a scientific thing called the Ebbinghaus curve, and it's actually like information that you learn today you retain at 70%, but by 7 days you're down at 10%. That's because you've not articulated it, you've not written it down, you've not discussed it with anybody, had a debate, seen a different side. Like if you're not doing any of that, so that's a good point. It's a really good point that you've got to articulate what you learn. You've got to go and tell everybody about it. You've got to be annoying.
And that's one of my biggest pros, because like I'm gonna just go tell, like at work tomorrow, yo, I met with this crazy guy named Tony. He's a psychologist. Listen to what he does. Like, it's just gonna be all I talk about tomorrow. And that has been the theme with this podcast for me, is every time I do one, I'm telling everyone about the person I met with and talk about what he does differently. And my managers and the owner of my dealership must think I'm crazy, because in the last 14 days, I've told them like 50 different things we have to do. You know, that's probably the ADHD. We got to do this. We got to do this. Our follow-up sucks. We're not doing psychology. I need to know your personality type. And it's just going to be.
Yeah, you got to do one thing at a time and do it really well. Because if you do one thing really well, you can move on to the next thing. Whereas if you're doing loads of and I'm the same. If I do loads of different things, I'm not doing any of them well. People really have to get me in a lane when they want me to really concentrate on something. But actually, I've just learned that, some things are red herrings. So even though someone's told me something, I'm like, really? Oh, should I? And I'm like, does it bring? I have the Socrates sieve. So there's a thing called the Socrates sieve. So famous philosopher from Greek, whatever, long time ago. And it's the first part of the sieve. So you imagine like a sieve and like flour coming out of it, yeah? Oh God, whatever. So the first part of this is, if someone comes to me with any information, I just say, will it make me happy or unhappy? Yes or no? And they go, well, normally, because it's negatives, I'll say, no, it's definitely not going to make you happy. I'm like, okay, so second question, is it true? Yes or no? And they'll go, well, I don't know, such and such told me about it, and I'm maybe. And then I'll go, third question then, is it going to bring me any utility whatsoever? Yes or no? And they go, well, it's not going to make you happy. I'm not too sure if it's true. And then they realise that they're just there gossiping and they're below the line, whining, being a jerk, whatever. And I just go, get away. So that, along with information that comes in, that me and you in this key behaviour have got to be very selective on what we take on, because whatever we take on, we absolutely burn it. We'll kick the bloody side gate open and the back door, and we'll get things sorted. We'll get the party started. So you've got to really, really figure out which party you want to start and which one's going to bring you utility. And that's something I struggle with all the time, because I'm like, oh, shiny. Exactly the same. So interested, very interested.
No, I absolutely love it, Tony. Thanks so much for being on. If you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking to yourself, hey, I'm really interesting, I sell cars, or I'm in car sales, and I got something cool I want to talk about with you, Russ, reach out to me on my Instagram. You can fill out a little questionnaire and send me a video like Tony did. When you send me these videos, so guys, not everyone's the same, but try to have some personality. I mean, some of you guys, the videos you sent me, you might be the world's greatest car salesman, but I just couldn't see past the 30-second video of you just kind of being a dull. So if you send me one of those videos, have some energy, have some confidence, stand out like Tony. He came guns a-blazing in his video, and I said, get this man on the podcast ASAP. But thanks so much for being on, Tony. Let's hang on and chat for a little bit afterwards, all right?
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I've really enjoyed it. It's been awesome.